Thank you, everybody, for joining our Zoom conversation this afternoon. I'm Bruce Sherman, the commissioner for the area. We are talking today about the Moreland Northampton Drainage Project, which the briefing will describe in full, so I won't give a synopsis at the top, but many people on the call now know already what it is, have seen a prior briefing, have generated questions. So I want to thank everyone for joining, our neighbors for joining, and our briefers from the Department of Transportation and the contracting organization Stantec for joining. I appreciate very much DDOT and Stantec's willingness to do another briefing on this, to describe once again what the project entails and then take neighbors' questions. I'm hoping that, and I know DDOT's hoping, that this might be the final complete briefing that seeks to address definitively people's questions. And since the briefing in May, we've had, as I mentioned, neighbors submit questions individually to DDOT. You've answered those. There are still remaining questions that people have that we will get to. So I just want to say thanks to everybody for joining. So why don't we go ahead without further ado and roll into this. And when we do that, Steve, if you're briefing, or Dave, Mavard, you guys can introduce yourselves as you come on. I do have queued up Steve, the briefing that you sent me, the updated slide deck. So if you'd like me to share that, I can, and then we can go from there. Does that make sense?
Either is fine. I have it queued up as well. So
okay, well, go ahead. Why don't you go ahead and do it that way? You can just operate your own slides, right? I'll let you share.
Okay.
So you should be able to share your screen. And so just before you get started, Steve, the run of show, everybody, is that Steve and colleagues will run through the briefing soup to nuts so that everybody on the call has the full picture, if you haven't seen this before, so that you have it all in context. And then we will go into questions from the neighbors. Again, I know there are many questions that folks have. So that's basically what we're doing, and we aim to finish by 4 o'clock. Okay, Steve, over to you.
Yeah, well, first, I just want to give Mervard a chance. Did you have anything you wanted to start off with, Mervard, before I get into it?
No, I spoke to the residents separately. I just want to thank everyone for joining. We're going to redo the same presentation as did before, and then answer the questions as well. Steve from Stantec is our consultant that will present, and then I am a program manager for this project from DDOT side, and Rashid is a project manager. And as you all know, Christian is also our outreach from DDOT. Other than that, no, nothing else. Thank you so much. You can go ahead.
Okay.
Hey, Steve, just before you get going, let me just add one quick introductory note. I want to hark back to March of 2023, which is when, about that time, neighbors advised me of the issues concerning the flooding, and that's when I engaged, of all people, Christian. And Christian came out with one of the DDOT engineers and reviewed the situation. So for those who don't know anything about this project, there is history here in the slide deck. It does go back to March of 2023, and it's been in progress for quite some time. Of course, not until the design was at a point where we knew from all of the from DDOT and Stantec what the particulars were, were we in a position to share everything with the community. And again, that 90% design phase briefing happened in May. So we're picking up from that here in September. So that's just it for me, Steve. Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, and thanks, Bruce, for communicating with people and providing that interface. I think your constituency, your community is fortunate to have you. I also want to say, so yeah, my name is Steve Zender. I'm the project manager for this project and the contract in general that we have with DDOT to address stormwater and drainage issues around the city. And I'm also here with our project engineer from Stantec, David Merihue, and one of our other our H&H or hydraulics engineer, Susan Handley, both who've worked on this project from the start. So I'll kind of start it off, and then I might ask Dave or Susan to jump in on particular slides. So we're here to talk about the Moreland Street Northwest drainage improvements. As Bruce said, I think we initially started working on this project in 2023 and have since we did an initial study and then progressed into design. Today's agenda, this presentation was given in May. We've made a few minor updates, but we'll essentially be sharing the same information. So some of you might recognize these slides that were here in May, but it might be new to others that were not. So we've already done introductions. We'll go through purpose and need, design updates, the schedule, and then we'll get into probably the part that everybody wants to get to is the feedback or the Q&A. So, all right, the purpose and need for this project, as Bruce said, the residents contacted DDOT in 2023. There were some ongoing drainage problems at the lower end of Moreland Street Northwest, some flooding on private property, some of that originating from DDOT's right-of-way. DDOT engaged Stantec to prepare a study to try to get a better understanding of the issue, the root causes of the issue. And that report was, let's see, I guess we finished the report in the fall. And then, yeah, we started the design in spring 2024. So when we start final design, we typically start at 30%, and now we are at 100%. So that process took about a year. So just a kind of a high level overview. The project includes essentially trenching and installation of new storm drains. The gray shading that you see here is are the trenches, and then the blue symbols are new inlets that would intercept runoff and deliver that to an existing storm drain system, which is basically today located at just east of 27th Street and Northampton Street. And then, we have several manholes along the way, and just paving and concrete work to come back, when the project is done, to come back in and fix the paving and make any repairs to curb and gutter and that sort of thing. Anything, Dave or Susan, that you'd like to add to that?
Should do a high level of just drainage design for everyone to cover it, because I think there were some questions about some things that we take for granted just as designers. So like the inlets are just, if you think about the storm drain system, like the rain is going to fall on the surface, and because you have impervious surfaces like roadways or roofs, it cannot infiltrate into the ground anymore, which generates runoff. Runoff is getting to Northampton. So as the designers, we're looking at that. We're looking at the drainage areas. We're looking at the engineering manual and design guidelines for DDOT. And then we are going to design, so what these are inlets to those standards to pick up the runoff that is being generated to their current standards. So picking up 100% of runoff before it's crossing that intersection. So the inlet, just kind of like what you would see, is just that like rectangular concrete box on the surface between the curb and the sidewalk. And then underneath that, it's connecting to a system of pipes, and storm drain is all gravity flow. So it has to go from high to low. So the same way a drop of water is going to go from the high down to the low, the same way is that the drainage system is going to have to be like that too. So that's kind of is that like a high level of the drainage design in general?
Yeah, and the low point of the drainage system is up here. Albeit at the surface, the surface of the road actually goes up and then down, but below ground we have a positive flow all the way along this system.
Yeah, I just
so the trench.
Oops, sorry. Go on.
Go ahead, Susan.
Yeah, I just wanted to alleviate concerns. I know there were some before that thought it was just going to like sit in the box or anything. Like the box is connected to pipes. The pipes are gravity going to be taking it down, down, down and away. So like there's nothing that's going to be stored or anything like that with this system.
Okay, I'll go to the next slide. So we've planned for the project to be constructed in phases, and working from the lower point on the east end, and then working our way up. We do anticipate for the majority of the project to be able to keep the road open, at least half of the road open, and use a flagging operation to control traffic back and forth. We've made some kind of initial, assumptions on what the durations and phasing looks like. When the contractors begin their work, they are also requested by DDOT to submit a schedule. But DDOT normally establishes an overall anticipated duration for the project that they want the contractor to perform within. So we do have some control over the overall time it would take to build this. I think there might have been a question about work hours. I think the standard work hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., not including weekends or holidays. The contractor would have to request approval from DDOT to work on either. But Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Would be kind of the typical work time frames. I doubt they'd work till 7 p.m. That would probably be more like 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. So
Hey,
there
Steve,
is
can I just interrupt you on that point? And I take what you just said, that typically you're not, particularly during the winter months when it gets dark at 5 o'clock, that you're probably not going to be working to 7 o'clock, right? That's
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And the contractor, they don't want to be in there, working when people are coming home from work, and there's a lot of people coming and going. So they're gonna, I think, try to get in and get out on a daily basis as well.
Right.
So going into, we have this broken further down into phases. So for most of the project, we anticipate being able to do it along Northampton with flagging. However, this portion that is in the middle of the intersection, we do feel will need to be closed while they're building these trenches. And there would be a short-term detour around the area while this is closed. But we think this week, or this work, should be relatively brief in the overall scope of the project. This is phase 3B, Dave, and we're saying we think this would be. I don't think we put a time to it, but we're probably talking, a week, 2 weeks, maybe.
Yeah, and Steve, we want to reiterate that closure is only going to be during daytime hours, during work hours.
Mhm.
So during non-working hours, that closure will be it'll be plated, and when I say plated, there'll be steel plates placed on the ground, and it will be fully open to vehicular traffic.
Yeah, a contractor would make it safe before the end of the day. And then for the portion that is constructed along Moreland Street Northwest, we do, let's see, we anticipate that this would be closed to traffic during the day, right, Dave?
Yes, this would be closed during the day hours. So during work hours. So 7 a.m. to 7.
Yeah, but we would maintain the pedestrian access to and from houses. So this is phase 4, estimated duration 3 weeks, 4 weeks for phase 4, sorry. So daytime closures, there's just not enough space to safely operate equipment and have vehicles coming in and out. So we feel that this would need to be closed. Now, that being said, once the project is underway, there's a working relationship between the contractor and DDOT and the community, and lines of communication about when the contractor is going to be working. If they're not going to be there because of, say, rain or something like that, then I would anticipate that the road would be open on days like that, when when they're not actually working. So these are all sort of things that we put out there conceptually as a designer, but ultimately during construction, DDOT and the contractor are going to be the interface with the community, and DDOT's communications folks. So Christian, you're going to be continuing during construction. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'll be I'm able to communicate anything throughout the project. So
So this is the detour that we looked at. And basically just while that intersection is closed for about a week during the day, we would direct traffic to go up 27th Street in Nebraska and then come back Utah. That'll be the signed detour. It doesn't mean people can't take other routes, but that's a short-term detour. Hopefully, not too much of an inconvenience over the course of that week. And then the last two phases are just to put in the remaining run of pipe and the two inlets that you see here. While we're putting in the blue phase, the flagging operation would be on the north side of the street, and then when they're putting in the red phase, the flagging would be on the south side of the street. So let's see, we're pretty much here, I guess, between 90%, really at 100%. And I think I'm not sure are there any updates on the construction timeframe, Morvard, or is fall 2026? Is that accurate?
Yes, I am going to add this project to the next IDIQ construction. We are closing out our current existing IDIQ contract, so I put this for the next year.
Okay.
Morvar, just to be clear, was this originally scheduled to start this fall?
I don't remember this. We were supposed to add this to our existing current IDIQ construction to start this year. However, we called it lead. We had some crews that were still wrapping up our current construction contracts and it's expiring, so we had to move it to the next year. But it was originally earlier, you're right.
Okay, so I want to be clear about that for everybody on the call, because I've been reporting based on the prior information that it might start as soon as this fall. This is actually moving it a full year. Just to be clear here, right?
It just happened. Yeah, it just happened like last week as we are wrapping up our final task orders for construction. It's a new news. It's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there may be some folks on the call that may have questions about that, but we can wait until you're finished.
Sure.
Yeah, I should also mention there's some anticipated utility relocations. There's a water lateral and a gas relocation. So that's part of the reason as well for additional time, so that those relocations can be performed in advance of the storm drain construction.
Okay.
So that's our slides, and
Okay.
so we're happy to take questions, comments, discussion.
So folks, if you would just do me a favor, the raise hand button is at the bottom. If you have a question, raise your hand. I know that various of you do already have questions. And why don't we just start? Daniel, you have been in the forefront of posing questions to DDOT about the project. So I know I want to make sure we get to your questions in full and everybody's questions. So would you like to start?
Thank you, Bruce, and my thanks to the contractors and to DDOT for being very responsive. You've answered a lot of my questions. There are two main ones that remain for me. The first is one that affects me personally. I'm in a part of Northampton Street which will be disrupted by this project, but gain absolutely no benefit from it. So the question I have is one that I've posed before and I've gotten different answers. Are you going to use the public access areas on the front yards of the people along Northampton Street? I'm referring not only to the verge and the sidewalk, but in my case, also half the way to my front door on my front lawn. And there are quite a few houses along Northampton and along Moreland that could be affected if you're planning to use that space.
Can you please zoom in, Steve? So if we do the construction, the pipe is right in the road, right? Is it in parking lane or is in the road, the travel lane?
It's in the roadway.
It's in the roadway, and then behind that is the sidewalk, right? And then behind the sidewalk is the front yard. We're not going to anyone's front yard for sure. The construction is very far. We are not disturbing anyone's front yard. We may have some maintenance of traffic for pedestrians, like we may close the sidewalk and then during construction, which I don't have any information right now, we may detour the pedestrians somehow, but we don't use people's front yard for storing materials or disturbing it in any ways.
Do you use the verge or the sidewalk? The
Can you-
verge being the green space between the sidewalk and the roadway.
Unless
that-
there's an inlet placed there, no.
No, we're not gonna do that. If anything happens, there are trees, we're not gonna touch any green spaces or anything. If during construction something happened, we're also required to refresh the grass area, but based on the plans I see, everything is in the roadway. And if we need to excavate nearby or something, we're not going to disturb like anything like in the front yard or even the grass area, or if we do, we put it back to the existing condition.
If you'll
Yeah,
allow, I have one other question.
Can I just,
Uh,
I'm sorry, can I just elaborate on that? I just want to clarify. So there are some places where like our pipe trench gets close to the edge of road. So we would be rebuilding the curb and gutter, for instance, in this location. And so there's going to be a little bit of disturbance along the grass to rebuild that curb and gutter. And then, to excavate for the inlets, some of these inlets, also there's going to be some disturbance and removal of a few shrubs that are in the right of way. The right of way line is, you can see, is back here. I know from the standpoint of this is an invisible line, and this is the concrete sidewalk and the grass all feels like part of the lawn in the front yard. We'll be certainly trying to minimize disruption to that the verge, I guess, is that the grass buffer between the sidewalk and the curb. I haven't heard that term before.
Well, I looked it up on the internet and that's what they told me is most commonly
Okay.
used.
Okay, that's a new one. Thanks for sharing that.
Steve, can you open the LOD? So that is the area
Sure.
of disturbance. Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
We don't have any tree removal, right, Steve?
There's some shrub. I think there's one
There's
tree that
one
gets
small
impacted by
tree
the inlet.
removal.
But it's just for this, it's not for excavation. You're gonna remove it to have the catch basin, right?
Correct.
Okay.
But all equipment and material will be stored in the roadway.
In the road, normally that's how we do it. In the case by case is different, but nothing will come definitely to the front yard. It wouldn't be in the roadway or parking lane where the cars are parked.
So this is our area of disturbance.
Yeah, this line here,
Yeah.
LOD, that's LOD stands for limit of disturbance. So you can see that, that's what the contractor is, held to during construction. So there's really no reason for them to be other than to put these inlets in. They're going to have tree protection fencing around these trees that don't get impacted. And like I said, where they have curb and gutter that has to be replaced, that there will be a little excavation behind the curb and the gutter to install that.
Can you also go back to the previous page and show where exactly like their front yard is and how far we are? So if you zoom in, can you point the front yard of the house and then where the limit of disturbance is so we understand? This
Sure.
is, yeah, you see, go ahead.
In this case, the curb and gutter is right here. And the sidewalk is let's see if I can, this is the sidewalk.
Yeah.
This is the right of way line. So there's a little grass up here, but the disturbance, the limit of disturbance is well within,
You're going to disturb the verge in order to install those.
the
grates.
inlets. Correct.
Yeah.
It'll be, it'll be restored once the
Yeah.
inlet's installed, it'll be restored with
Hey,
grass.
hey,
And,
Steve, it's Bruce. Just a quick question. Carolyn Copper, who lives at the corner of Moreland and Northampton, and her next door neighbor, Jen Markovich, they're on the call, and they had questions once upon a time. And Carolyn and Jen, I don't mean to speak for either one of you, but I just want to clarify here, removal of shrubs or trees or a shrub or a tree to put the inlets in is something that we can just reiterate, reconfirm here, Steve, if you zoom out just slightly with the plan,
Yep.
where Moreland is, which presumably is on the right of the screen as I'm looking at it, right?
Mhm.
correct. Yep.
Okay, so right at the corner is Carolyn's house.
This one.
Carolyn, if you want to jump in here and ask any question about this, and Jen, if you do too, I know these questions have come up before. It's a great opportunity now just to clarify exactly what's going to happen here. Steve, maybe you can just describe it, because with a lot of the design or the lines on the plan, it's sometimes hard to see exactly what the removal of a shrub or a tree is going to be, but just point it out where the drainage inlet is, I guess, right?
Yeah. So I think there's like a crepe myrtle right here that's in conflict with this inlet.
And that one
So
to the left there, that one right
This is
there
the-
is going to have to be removed too.
those two. Yeah.
Okay.
And then
Again,
there's one tree, actual like tree to the left. I think that's at I-5.
right.
Yeah. There's this tree
And that's
right
small. I think it's like 2 or 3 inches in diameter.
Okay. Now, when you put the inlets in, you've taken the trees out, you put the inlets in, does DDOT, and this is a contractor DDOT question as opposed to Stantec question, come in and replant? Or does urban forestry come in and replant, or what happens?
Normally,
here.
you can
Yeah,
go
sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, go
Sure.
ahead.
Yeah. I don't think we're proposing a new tree. In this case, there's just nowhere to put one because
Okay.
of other utility conflicts or underground utilities. I suppose.
I can help a little bit.
Go ahead.
So normally UFD reviews all of our plans, and we are not allowed to remove any trees unless we get approval from them. And then they decide based on the plans if we need to replant a new tree or if it's feasible or not. For other projects, if it's a mature tree, we try to avoid as much as possible not to impact any trees. But if we do, they ask us to replant case by case. This is a small tree, it's a small shrub. I don't know what was the reasoning behind it. I wasn't involved, I don't know, Rashid knows, but they normally approve and decide replanting is needed or not.
Right.
And
Okay.
I assume this is all both shrubs or small trees, so I don't know, that could be a reason, or the underground utilities. We can dig and see what was the reason.
Okay. All right. Again, not to put either Jen or Carolyn on the spot here,
Hi,
but
Bruce,
both
actually,
of you- yeah, go ahead.
I just couldn't figure out how to raise my hand. Apologies that I'm on a phone, but thanks very much for asking. I'm happy to defer to Carolyn or others who have questions. I think I had just wanted to confirm which tree was being referred to in front of 2808 Northampton. It's a little bit difficult for me to see the slides, with apologies that I'm on my phone. I think that you're referring to the small tree that's in the inlet between the sidewalk and the street, in which case I think actually the city planted that tree. So just wanted to confirm that that's the case. If someone could let me know without pointing to the slide. Thank you.
Yes, that the
That's
tree
cool.
that is being removed is in between the sidewalk and the street.
Thanks.
Between
No other
the
questions from me.
sidewalk and
Thanks
the
very
street.
much.
So is this a current enough Google picture to capture that tree? I'm assuming it is.
I don't think so. I think this
okay.
is 2019. I think the
Oh,
tree is.
okay. So it's an older, so anyways, it's on the easement. It's right on the side. It's a tree. Okay. All right. Well, Jen, obviously, you know which tree it is, but
No, that answers my question. Thanks so
okay.
much.
Okay. Fantastic. Fantastic.
I did have one other question, if you don't mind. This is a pretty expensive project. Do you know how much it's going to cost?
Oh, let's see. Give me a sec.
It's around 1 million, I think, but
How much?
around
Yeah.
it's 1 million,
1.2.
1.2.
1.2.
Well, that's with it is 1 million, and then if you we always include a contingency and escalation. So
Sure.
contingency and escalation 1.2, but yeah, Marvard's right. In today's dollars, it's 1 million.
The question I have is whether you considered any cheaper alternatives.
Well, there's unfortunately not a lot of alternatives to begin with. We did look at this area. There have been some things that have been done previously that on kind of a small scale, just some small stormwater BMPs that were put in on the property at the end of the street, but they really aren't sized or capable of handling the amount of runoff that comes down on in the larger storms. So really the only alternative to stay within DDOT's right of way is pretty much what you're seeing, to intercept that runoff and take it back and tie it into the nearest storm drain system. There's just unfortunately not an existing storm drain system in the vicinity. So, we're having to build several hundred feet of new pipe and inlets to bring this street up to DDOT standard, which is to handle the 15-year storm. So if does that answer your question?
I think it does. You didn't consider cheaper alternatives. I can cite a few of them, but I don't want to get into a quarrel on the during the meeting. There are
well, I'll say
other
that
options.
There were improvements in the past to this gutter, to try to at least prevent some of the runoff. So if that could be considered, that has been tried. The real issue is that a lot of the runoff is coming from private property. Into some of it's coming from DDOT's right away, and then some of it's, I'm trying to get back to a drainage area map. Let's see, does this show me what I want to? I guess this is
Yeah, while you look it up, I mean, really, this should have probably been built in the past, is the issue.
Yeah. So maybe it's, you can see that, to do this kind of gutter up here, that intercepts some of the runoff on Northampton, but then there's a lot of runoff that's coming from these properties back here, just overland, that we're trying to intercept. And even with this project, we're not necessarily going to intercept all the runoff that's coming from private property, but we're gonna intercept what comes into DDOT's right of way, runoff that either started in private property and then comes into DDOT's right of way, or runoff that was already in DDOT's right of way that wasn't being captured. And so we're going to capture all that. So I'm going to just try to highlight those areas so you can kind of get a feel for all this now isn't really controlled, and just runs down into the backyards down here. So we're gonna put in a couple different inlets. Yep.
All right, this is John Hurwitz. The other thing, I mean, you alluded to this, but just to point out, to the left of where you have the yellow, if you look, all those houses on the south, and this isn't being addressed in any meaningful way, but the gray is what's going into the street. The white is what's going behind the houses. So most of these houses on the south side of Northampton Street, the water that they're collecting on their property is going in the backyard, which then makes its way into the houses down here on Moreland Street. So, right, I mean, that's what you guys explained to me earlier as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like Steve was saying, this will pick up the drainage, right? That is getting, whether it's generated in DDOT right away or goes from private to
Right.
DDOT and back. It's going to pick up that portion, which is about half of the flow that is actually getting to those yards. So this is only picking up, like the public, the DDOT right away.
Right, no, I'm not
runoff.
complaining about it. It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
But my point only is that
Right.
to the extent, Mr. Sir was like, well, it's not my it's not my problem.
Right,
So why should I
right.
worry
So
about
this
it?
is,
Well, all these
yeah.
houses on the streets, like their water, and not that they're doing it because they're bad people or anything, but the water flow across the street is all coming, all these houses to the left of that yellow line, if you could just highlight that. The water flow, if you look at it, is all, if you could demonstrate that, is all coming down into the properties here too. So it's a problem of the commons.
You're making my argument for me. I mean,
Well, I'm not,
This-
because we're
this-
to take the
this project
50% of the
isn't
water
com-
away. We paid, and all these houses on Moreland Street, when they were constructed, we were required to manage our own stormwater. And so we all have basins in our yards that are designed to manage our water. We're not required, and it's impossible for us to manage the water from the neighborhood. And yet that's what we're forced to manage, because the water flows in. When there's a storm, even a mild storm, I have 6 inches or more of water, standing water flowing through my yard. And it goes over the retaining wall that we have and goes onto Moreland Street. And the house behind us goes flowing through their whole basement and their entire house. And there's nothing any of us can do about it because it's just unstoppable. So this project is collecting 50% of it so that there's a hope of managing what's retained. But ideally, everyone on the street would divert their water to the front of the houses, which I think they're not even allowed to do by DC laws, I understood from this. But this is not like an inconvenience. This is a huge problem. I mean, my bottom of my house fills up with 6 inches of water. There's nothing I can do about that. And it doesn't even require a 15-year storm. It happens, once, twice, sometimes 3 times a month. And it's not just me, it's all the houses along our street and then all the houses along Moreland Place behind us. Because the water, when it overwhelms our houses, it then floods everyone else's houses down the hill. And as the person on the phone said, I'm sorry, I just can't remember your name. This should have been done, the street improvements are only to bring this up to code. And it all should have been done years ago. It's just never been attended to, and now it needs to be fixed.
should have been done by the developer. I agree with that.
I don't
Hi
think it's
there.
by the developer. This is the DC streets. These are not private streets. Northampton is a public thoroughfare. It doesn't have, Northampton Street does not have drainage to meet the DC code requirements. That's not a developer's issue. That's a road issue. Even if our houses weren't there, there's still a problem on Northampton Street. And there's
Hi
a problem
there.
on Moreland Street.
This is Jen Markovitz. Just wanted to jump in quickly to make sure folks are seeing. There are a number of sort of practical questions on the chat that I just want to make sure some of us who have to jump right at the hour can get answers to while we have the team here who can answer those questions. Would it be possible to turn to those questions? Thanks so much.
Indeed. So in the chat, and I think Rita, if you want to voice some of the questions that you sent to me in advance, and I sent those on to DDOT and Stantec, but I also put them in the chat, so we can kind of go through your questions if you'd like.
There are other also questions for construction. We have like a couple of them. I don't want to miss
Well,
them.
let me just do this though. The questions beginning in the chat with Rita at 3:25, and then I tagged her questions. Like, can we just kind of go through these quickly? The very first question.
Maybe
Yeah.
we should start. Carolyn asked a question before me about the utility relocations, and I think that's a very important question.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So, what are the specific utility relocations, and when will those start?
Steve, do we have any?
Yeah. So
Yes, Pep-
we're trying to finalize, the last time we spoke, we didn't anticipate having to relocate a lateral, but based on some DC water comments, we do have one lateral that has to be adjusted.
Go back.
We also have the gas
Yeah, that one.
relocation.
Yeah, I'll get to the gas, but these plans are not the latest, but we had to make an adjustment to the location of this manhole and this connect pipe, which is going to impact the lateral to 2808. So that water lateral will need to be relocated. And I think it's probably
Gas.
1 or 2 days, for work. It would just take a day or two probably to do that work.
What is a
The gas
lateral?
lateral,
The lateral is it connects to 2808.
It goes
Right.
from the main water pipe, the 8-inch, to the house.
So during that time, that family won't have access to water?
I don't know what the specific outage would be, but I would imagine it would be
It's a
probably a day.
very short process by, it's DC water relocation, right, Steve?
Mhm.
correct.
Ladder. So it's a very, we don't, it depends. I think sometimes our contractors do it and DC water pay us most of the cases. So our contractors do it in a it's very quick process. It's not like a whole day or a couple days. It's gonna be a couple hours process that our contractors do. They normally do a lot of coordination in person with the residents, make sure that they know, and it's not very like a long process. It's a very quick. I don't know if any of these streets has like a lead pipe or anything like that with DC water. It's not a very like complicated case. It happens during construction. It's very quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess they would trench and install the new lateral, and then switch it over once it's ready to go. So that the outage would just be the period of time when that switchover happens. But they do this type of work all the time. It should be pretty straightforward.
One thing, can we do this though? The question, can we get the actual schedule or the details on this to answer this question for anyone else who has an answer, who has this concern in mind? I mean, I know we're talking about it right now and answering it, but it might be also good to come back and just say, this is what, these are the properties affected by the relocations and about how long it's going to take. And since this isn't going to happen, the construction is not going to take place now until 2026, a year from now. These relocations are not going to happen until shortly before the construction begins. Is that correct?
I can't speak to the exact schedule. It might
No, this is during construction. Normally, when we start the construction, then relocation happens, and it's the same for all of our projects. It's not, it's if either, for this case, I think it's during we start and then we do it. There are some cases probably for Washington Gas could be different. They do their relocation like a week or 2 weeks before we go ahead.
Okay, but we're talking about 2026 in any case.
Now we're talking about 2026,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
and the gas lateral gets relocated here. This is on the south end of Moreland Street. It's in conflict with the storm drain manhole. It sort of has kind of a weird circuitous route, so we're going to straighten that out. And that would also happen. I think it's a 2-inch, no, 6-inch, sorry. So that would happen around the same time.
Okay, just going down the list of questions, and Carolyn, if we didn't answer that question sufficiently, we'll come back to it. Let us know. But to Rita's question, how will trash be collected during the time period that the road is completely closed? And will lawn companies and deliveries be able to use the roads?
Is this a road closure for Moreland, right?
For Northampton, presumably. Rita lives on
Yeah.
Northampton.
Both of them.
During
Okay.
the presentation, someone said that there was a section of the road that will be closed completely for a short period of time, but I think it was a week or two.
For trash, I can speak, our contractors during construction will take care of it. They, when we come and notify you guys about the construction, there is a guidance of how we collect trash. So case by case is different, but they normally, when we leave fact sheets, we guide you guys how we're going to collect the trash. Like you can put it outside, they come grab it and then put it back. It's our responsibility to do it. In terms of deliveries, I think that's something needs more coordination during construction. Per my personal experience, Normally, I think they do it with, if it's closed, we will still have maintained the walking, so they park the car and then walk and then do the deliveries. But it's gonna be an inconvenience, I understand. But for trash, I'm pretty sure we are responsible for it. Our contractors will do it.
Okay, thank you. Then will there be parking restrictions for neighbors during the time that all these trucks are there? Like, will we still be able to park on our street, or how will that be handled?
I think when it's closed, right? I think Northampton will be closed temporarily so then you can't park in that during that time in front of your home. Can you, Steve, go to that slides that has the maintenance of traffic?
So while there's a flagging operation on the street, there won't be able to maintain parking. The street is not wide enough to maintain parking and one lane of traffic.
So you still have the travel lane open, right?
Correct.
So
But
Northampton,
you won't be able to park on Northampton where we're conducting flagging operations.
so that's what I think I got confused. Northampton is not being closed even temporarily.
The only portion on Northampton that's being closed is the intersection. So technically Northampton is not closed. It's just
It's Moreland.
you can't travel from one side of Northampton to the other
So then
across Moreland Street.
So deliveries are not a problem. It's only the parking, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so I understand. It's Moreland that is closed, which we maintain the pedestrian. For Northampton, deliveries still can come. You have a one travel lane, but you cannot park in front of your home, and it's only impacting, I think, 2812, 280, and 2800, right? And then all the way on the other side. Am I clear? Can someone tell me?
Yeah, read it. That makes sense to you?
Yeah, it does. And, I think we'll have a better handle on this when the project starts.
I
Okay.
mean, we are right now actually in very close neighborhood. We have a construction. We are very accessible. We have CM, we have contractors. I got a call. Somebody had a lawn a company comes to do their lawns, and we made sure that we maintain the traffic for that day for them to come. So it's a very we're all available in front of your home. So if any coordination needed, it's a very easy adjustment for us to do. We do it all the time. So it's going to be a little bit of coordination, but we made it normally happen.
Thank you. That's great to hear. I have one other question, then I'll turn it to, there's some other questions that other people have added. What are the plans for disruption of rodent tunnels underground when you're doing all this work? Like, how do you address that so that we aren't overcome by rodents looking for new homes?
I think that's a very important question, Ms. Candace Abadi.
How deep we are going. This is how we've been doing construction. I don't think we have any protection for that. Steve, do you have anything?
I can't say I know how to answer that.
No, neither.
Does the community have an existing rodent issue?
Yes,
Is it rats, mice, both?
Both.
I've heard both.
All the above. This is not something we normally can do anything about. Any construction, any excavation, even if you plant a tree, you can cause that. So I don't.
Have
we
you,
didn't have any.
Rita or and Candace, I'm sorry, Movera, to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Have you spoken with the Department of Health, DBH or DOB or DOH? Sorry.
I have in the past, but I'm just, it's not, we're not overwhelmed. It's not like some sections of DC, but I'm just concerned with the digging that whenever there's been excavations, tunnels are disrupted and those little critters go look for new homes, and I don't want them in my home.
Well, I will say, if you do see an abundance of rodent activity during construction, you can reach out to me and I'll have one of our Department of Health inspectors if they want to make a frequent kind of beat around that area. That's something I mean, that's out of DDOT's bailiwick because we don't handle that type of thing, but I'm happy to be a vessel of information to our partners at Department of Health if it gets really out of control.
Thank you very much.
And just let me add, Candace and Rita, on that, and backing up what Christian has said, I'm also here at any time to liaise with Department of Health and get results if there's a problem. In other words, we'll jump on this if there's a problem and not let it become a bigger problem.
You know, part of the issue is that you don't know it's a problem until they're in your house.
Yeah, well, there's that, and I sympathize with that. We have, there are mice around here. I understand, and I think what we just need to do on this is just, I don't want to say play it by ear to be cavalier about it, but if it happens, then we move on it as quickly as possible. I certainly hear the concern.
Thank you. Thank you.
Rita, do you had another question about how snowplows would work when the roads are the roads under construction? Can you guys at DDOT or Stantec address that?
Yeah. No more words.
Can you repeat the question again, please?
Yeah,
How's
when
snow
it
removal
snows,
handled?
how do you clear the snow if the road's torn up?
That contractor responsibility?
Okay. So they would have to, they'd have to take care of that, right? So,
Oh,
I think
yeah.
they're responsible for maintaining the work zone, right?
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't understand the question. What was the question?
it's snow. When it snows, how do you get rid of the snow?
Oh, it's our responsibility if there's a snow during construction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that was a question that Rita had put in her list of questions, and I just wanted to make sure we got to it. Okay. I'm going through the chat, and I'm mindful that it's 3:56. Other folks who have questions, let's just see if we are.
Bruce Candace had a very good question.
Okay.
Will we have access to our driveways? I know we've talked about we won't be able to park on the street, but will we be able to get into our driveways during this time?
Your driveway is in the front.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, no, the ones that are impacted, there's no parking, and I need to see where the driveways are. Can you, Steve, can you just show me them?
I mean, we wouldn't actively like block egress and ingress to homes, right? I don't think that's a standard we follow.
Unless construction is directly in front of your driveway for like trenching the pipe.
That's why I wanted like more
Access to a driveway will be maintained. There may be some coordination with the contractor in terms of if your driveway's in the flagging area, when you can leave your driveway, but your driveway will not be closed.
It's only the only time that we have the driveway closed is in the alley. Sometimes the homes in the back have a driveway in the alley, and the alley is closed. Like if you close the Moreland, and if your driveway is in the Moreland, we can't do anything about it. But if it's in Northampton, I think it should be fine.
And Candace, your house is clear of the trenching. They're not going to be trenching on that end of Northampton.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Actually, kind of a follow-up to what I was going to ask also. I'm just not familiar with a lot of these terms, and I'm not used to looking at drawings like this. Do you have any kind of an actual visualization when all is said and done? What will we see? What will
I
it
made
look
it a
like?
little picture so I could try and show it to you, but I don't have access to post it in there. So I can try sharing screen because I don't know. Let me see if that's the right
I
screen.
normally don't show plans. I normally ask for rendered plans, which we kind of
Is
did
this it?
last time.
That's
Like,
what
is this,
your inlet
is this what you mean? Like, this is an inlet or a catch base, and this is further down Northampton, and like this would be like what you would see from a manhole. So you would just see the top And
Okay,
like this is the normal roadway. So I don't know if that's what you were asking, but this would be like a visualization that might make sense to what you normally see, like when you're walking your dog or something.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's actually quite comforting. Thank you.
Okay, okay, good.
I
I
will
was like, I don't know if this is what she wants, but I'll try.
I will say, Candace, too, just to add on to that, most stormwater work across the city with what we do is it's all subsurface. So the piping you will see or that you won't see, it will be all underground. So the road will look the same outside of the bump outs and the additional catch basins that will probably be installed. Everything else on the roadway will be pretty much underground.
Now, what is the catch basin? What, I know there's been reference to that. I'm not sure what that is.
Wait, I'll share again. Hold on. Oh, unless you have one.
I'll just go down the street here and find one.
Okay, yeah, I went down a little. There's one. So essentially like this opening that you see, it'll go from curb to opening
Oh,
and then to
okay.
curb again. That
Okay.
is just how the water is going to flow along, down the hill, down whatever the slope is. This is where the water is getting picked up. And then in this portion, that's where the pipe's coming in. So the pipe's going to go from there, because pipes are straight, right? We have a manhole. So whenever we need to turn or have a bend or, you know what I mean? For certain things, it'll connect to a manhole. So the top just looks like a lid, the down, it's probably like a 4-foot wide circle or something like that they can climb in and out of. But the pipes connects to another manhole and continues on. So the inlet is just the way that water is getting into the pipe system to keep it moving. Otherwise, right, if you didn't have this, you would have increasing amounts of like volume in the curb spilling into the road, taking up the whole road, and then having to flow down the whole thing. So the inlets are just put along there to get the water into the system and move it along, not on the surface.
Thank you. That was really helpful for me. Thank you.
So I have
welcome.
up on my screen a typical. This is a triple catch basin, but I mean, this is what DDOT standard catch basins. So triple, and then down here it looks like these are all a little bit large. Are we using doubles, Susan?
Yeah, I think for the most part, we have a double and maybe one triple right before the intersection.
Yeah. So
those are the water quality ones.
this is a single basin. Trying to find a double. Well, if you can imagine basically a double being two of these.
Okay, thank you.
Could you speak
So
to the
again,
timing?
I'm just mindful of the time since it's I have all the time in the world, but I know all of you don't. So it's 4 o'clock. What I would like to do is go back and see if there's any question we haven't asked that needs asking. Anybody on the call that wishes to pose a question that we haven't gotten to yet?
Yeah, Bruce, the timing, I was just unclear. It sounded like this year's cycle is ending, but then it's a whole year away. I just was wondering how the timing cycle works and why it has to wait a whole year instead of
So,
months.
yeah, so Moreland was under 100% design, and we have a IDIQ design construction contract that we put all these stormwater projects under this one contract that they go out and do it. And we are in a year 5, and it's 5 years period of performance, and we are in year 5, which is expiring in 4 days. I was hoping to add Moreland for this existing contract that we have and then start the construction. But there were 2 things. One is DC Water started commenting on the plans and we had to revise the plans. So the plans were not ready before the expiration date of this one. And then we had a delay in our other construction. So it didn't happen in this existing construction contract. The reason that it has to wait because my other construction contract is not ready to start. We are in a process of bidding. So that's why it takes 6 months, but I don't want to say 6 months. Because usually something happened in contracting that it delays it, but Moreland is the first one for the next construction contracts to go for construction.
Okay, thank you.
I'm hoping for the earlier, but I always give the worst case scenario.
No, that's very helpful. Now I understand. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions that we haven't gotten to?
The equipment and the material, the dirt, will be stored in the roadway during construction?
like when we excavate.
The
Normally,
ex,
yeah.
the excavators and the dirt, you have to put the dirt back in as well. So where is it stored?
So it's on site. We called it on site. We normally 90% of the time we do it within the limit of disturbance, the area that we're doing the construction. There are cases that we can't. It's very rare that we had to borrow material, which is not. I don't think that's the case here. We did it. We do store within the limit of disturbance, but normally during construction we decide exactly where. So I don't know right now where exactly, but it's going to be within the limit of disturbance.
That is
Or
to say, not in your yard, Daniel.
not in your front yard, not in the sidewalk, within the road, within the road.
A 20-foot trench has a lot of dirt in it.
Well, some
But
of that dirt presumably they'd haul away, right? I mean, you don't just store it on the road. You know, you're digging a trench. I don't know how you manage that, right?
Well, when they build the trench, they're going to use trench boxes. They're going to get one segment at a time. So
Okay.
not necessarily building 200 feet. They're not digging out a 200-foot trench all at
At
once.
Yeah.
They're going to
It's
go,
section
the
by
trench
section.
boxes are like, I don't know, 10-foot lengths. So they're going to do 10 foot. Okay. And then, you know, the trench might be 20 feet long, and then move the trench box along, backfill, compact. So it's like an incremental process.
And if I understand it correctly, Steve, it isn't as though they take the dirt out or putting the dirt back. They're putting the trench box in, so they'd have dump trucks. And they would remove the dirt, correct?
I think they would use dump trucks. They would use the excavator. Excavator would place the dirt temporarily in the dump trucks, because it's probably easier than trying to, you know, control or scrape the dirt off of the pavement. And like Marvard said, some of the material might need to be wasted because it's not good quality. So then they'd be removing it anyway and bringing back, you know, a separate borrow material.
Right. But in any event, I've understood you to say you're not going to be storing some waste material in somebody's front yard.
Never.
No, I mean, and look, like when the construction people get involved, I mean, they're going to be better able to make commitments and answer these questions, I think, right, Marvard?
Yeah,
but
honestly, within the years I've been doing construction, I don't think any time we chose anyone's front yard to store our material.
right.
Okay.
It's been
All
really rare.
Okay. Excellent. Again, I'm just mindful of time. Daniel, do follow up. I'm not saying this is speak now or forever hold your peace, but this is the opportunity with everybody on the call to get questions answered. So feel free to jump in with anything further, Daniel. And while you're thinking, anyone else who has a question, feel free, of course, to pose it.
But just to confirm what wasn't quite said, which is that the excavators will be parked in front of homes on Northampton day and night.
Well, they're going to be in phases when the work is taking place with the trenching, I'm assuming. And so they are on the street for the period of time of the construction. Mavard or Steve, give us some idea to Daniel's question, how long they can expect an excavator to be on the street.
The whole full project is 8 months. I mean, the full project is 8 months. We're gonna do it in phases. So it's gonna be on the streets for 8 months.
Okay, so then the
But,
question
like-
really is, as to the contractor was going to have to figure this out about where to position an excavator. We're not talking about 10 excavators lining Northampton. I want to be clear about this to try to disabuse anybody of some vision of heavy equipment everywhere. There's an excavator, or are there two excavators? How many excavators are we talking about?
I would tell you this. I have right now building a pen pod in front of my house. It's pen pod project. We have 2 excavators. It's big. We're going to, I'm talking building something like DuPont Circle. We have 2 excavators in the north and the south of Pennsylvania Avenue.
Okay, so the likelihood here is we'd have one excavator probably.
One or Yeah, they are mindful. It's a small street, it's a residential. It's not a highway, or it's not a like a Pennsylvania Avenue or something. So they're very mindful of like the whole situation.
Okay.
And they can't dig up that much more than they can do in one day's work, right? So it wouldn't be good for them to have that many excavators there that they can't even use.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, not to minimize the fact that there's going to be heavy equipment on the street, Dan. Don't get me wrong. I just don't want there to be conjuring up the image that we're going to have 10 excavators lining the streets here. There's going to be
Fair enough.
fun.
Fair enough.
I think what you probably, I'm just, I'm not a contractor. I'll just say that, but there'd be an excavator. You probably have a bobcat. And then there's going to be, trailers that are delivering the pipe. So the excavator will also probably be used to take the pipe and lower the pipe. They put a strap around the pipe. The excavator picks up the pipe, lowers it down. The excavator can also manipulate the trench box. And then we'll have most likely the haul trucks for placement of removal and temporary storage of fill material. And they may store some of the material temporarily on the street. I can't say for sure, but it certainly wouldn't be in yards, in people's, they can't block, they're not permitted to block the sidewalk. They have to provide accessible routes. And that just would be, poor practice for them to put fill material into, front yards, because then they would just have to do all the repair for that, which would be a cost to them. So they wouldn't want to do that anyway.
Right. And there are places where the equipment can be positioned that's less obtrusive than other places. If you take a look at Northampton and where, the equipment could go. Okay. Again, it's 4:10. I don't want to foreclose any other opportunity for people to ask questions, but I'm mindful of everybody's time. Are we good now, neighbors, at the moment? Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right. Well, listen, I want to say again, thank you to the neighbors for being as passionately interested in this as you are. That's really, really great. It's great to have you involved. And I want to say again to Mavar and Christian. Christian, again, you were on the very front end of this, my friend. And now here you are again. By reassignment, you're going to hang in here, and that's great. Colleagues at Stantec, Susan and Steve and Dave, thank you guys. This is the second or third time you've done this, and I really appreciate your time. So look, neighbors, feel free to continue to send questions in. You have addresses. You should have everybody's emails by now. You certainly have mine. Anything you want to ask me. I'll forward the questions. Total transparency. I'm going to post this recording for all other neighbors. There are several hundred around who weren't part of this briefing, and they can watch this on their own time. So again, with all that, thanks everybody. I'm going to close this off and wish you all well. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
everyone.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks a
Bruce.
lot.
Bye.
Bye-bye.